I had woke up one morning and my stomach was hurting me in the worst way. And at that point, I knew I could not be quiet any longer. I had to tell what was going on in the darkness of my bedroom each night. The secret's out. Someone's going to protect me. But that's not what happened. We are literally put back into the police car from the hospital and delivered right back to our home. And I thought, okay, well, what's going to happen when he gets home from work?
Hello, welcome to the next episode of Healing Millions podcast. Today, I have an amazing friend, amazing soul, amazing coach, healer, best-selling author on my show, Jennifer Rogers. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the work you do. I'm so excited you're here. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Nina, for allowing me to be a guest with you today.
Thank you. I'm really super excited about this conversation. And when I prepared for the interview, you mentioned in the notes that you claimed your voice when you were 8 years old. Can you take us back to that moment, what really happened? Because it was a brave movement for somebody who was just 8 years old to do such a courageous thing. Can you share what happened, the whole story?
Absolutely. And thank you for asking to go back to that inner child, to that little girl at 8 years old, because sister, she is long. I haven't seen her. I'm almost 45. So it's been a minute since I was 8 years old. But you're absolutely right in what I shared, that I found my voice at 8. And when I say I found my voice, I think I should preface it with I first heard a voice, right? We all hear that voice in our head that tells us, you know, we should take this route home instead of this route. Or don't forget to do this. Or, hey, we're trying to give you a signal. Make sure you're picking up on it. So the first time I heard that voice in my head, that was really a protection, listen, and take action, was 8 years old. And the voice I heard was, or the statement I heard was, don't go home. He's there. And at 8 years old, I was not scared when I heard that statement. I was not scared when I heard that voice. It did just that. It perked me up. It made me look around, and it made me take action. I didn't know who the voice belonged to. It was not my own 8-year-old little girl voice, but it was a voice of comfort, and it was a voice of protection. Like, I immediately trusted this voice when I heard it. And so what that meant to me was, do not go home. He is there. Well, who is he? He was my stepfather at that time. And Nina, starting at age 4, I was being sexually abused. And it became consistent from the ages of 5 to 8. And from 5 to 8, I didn't have a voice. I was stifled. I was shut down. There was a hand on my mouth because of the things that I was going through as that little 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old little girl. I had woke up one morning and my stomach was hurting me in the worst way. And at that point, I knew I could not be quiet any longer. I had to tell what was going on in the darkness of my bedroom each night. But that's not a secret that you can just lay at your mother's feet and go on to school, right? Your day doesn't just continue on as if nothing happened. So I found the courage to come down the stairs that day and tell my mom what I'd been going through. And when I tell her, I'm scared to death, because for the last several years, my stepfather's been in my ear, don't tell anyone, I will hurt you, I will kill them. So all of these fears and these threats are so imminent, but the pain that my body was going through was much more in depth, much more intense, much more unbearable than any threat he could lay upon me. So I go down the stairs that morning. I tell my mother, we don't have a phone. We're a one vehicle family. So her only option is to take me next door to the neighbors to use their phone. And so now I'm like, the heaviest burden I've carried so far is just been shared with the neighbor. And I am just in a shell of myself. What do I do? What if he hurts me? What if he hurts my mother? All of those things, right? So the police show up at the home, they collect me and my mom, they take me to the hospital for an exam. And that exam is not comfortable in the slightest terms. You're not on a bed with sheets. You're not, somebody stroking you, telling you it's going to be okay. You are on a full body exam in a very sterile room. There's collections being made. There's conversations happening. There's people coming in that you don't know, asking you questions about the biggest secret that you've just let go of. So once that day is complete, everything is confirmed, I'm thinking, okay, what happens now? The secret's out. Someone's going to protect me. But that's not what happened. We are literally put back into the police car from the hospital and delivered right back to our home. And I thought, okay, well, what's going to happen when he gets home from work? What's going to take place? He's going to know I told. And so you have all these fears that are rising and coming up from the deepest parts of you. And at 8 years old, what can you do? You're looking for protection from everyone, anyone. Nothing happens. I don't know if, how that conversation happened between my mother and him. But what I do know happened is that we left that home. And if I could think of a beautiful home, this was always a picturesque, beautiful 2-story blue home. Great place to play, but there was nightmares happening on the inside, right? So we leave that home with him. My mother doesn't leave him. She stays with him, and we move into a much smaller home. Now we're in a 2-bedroom home with what's called a Jack and Jill bathroom between the bedrooms. So you'd have to go through either bedroom to get to the bathroom. So my mother and he shared one bedroom. My brother and I shared another. And the bathroom in the middle. Well, just because you move homes and move into a smaller home doesn't mean that abuse stops. The abuse just changed. And so now we go from coming in my bedroom at night to joining me in the bathroom, telling me how to bathe, telling me how to wash my body, what parts of my body to wash, where to put the soap, where to do all of these things. And I'm like, what do I do? I've already told, my mom knows, doctors know, to me, an 8-year-old little girl saying the police department knows, somebody surely is going to step in. But they don't. So I continue to go to school. And when I came home that day, we had lived about 2 blocks from school. And so I come down the alley. And when I get to the alleyway that is facing my home is here to the left. As I step out from that alley onto the street, that is when I heard the voice, "Do not go home. He's there." And again, we have one vehicle. So when I look at my home and the vehicle is not there, my immediate thought is, what is going to happen to me? And so I don't. I take a right at 8 years old and I ran away from home. I went to my mom's close friend's home who lived about a mile and a half outside of town. And so if you think about an 8-year-old going a mile and a half on their own, that's pretty far. And so I remember approaching her door, knocking on the door. I've got my little strawberry shortcake backpack on my back. And I knock on the door and she answers it. And to her surprise, what am I doing there? My mom's not with me. I'm here alone on her front steps. She says, Jennifer, what are you doing here? And Nina, in that moment, I share everything with her that I've been through. And she tells me, come inside. So we go in, she shuts the door. She doesn't ask me any questions. She says, come in the dining room with me. I'm potting some plants. Why don't you help me? And so we sat down on the dining room floor, and she has these little styrofoam cups, and I remember, moving the dirts and the seeds and propagating. And she calls my grandmother for me. And my grandmother tells her, do not let her mother have her. I'm on my way. So there is this peace that has kind of come over me. Okay, somebody is coming to get me. So we're sitting there in that kitchen floor, that dining room floor, and we're potting these plants. And a knock comes to her front door. And she just looks at me and she picks me up and picks my backpack up and carries me to her closet and puts me in the closet. And she says, I don't want you to say anything. Be quiet. Stay right here. And she shuts the closet door. And so she goes to her front door. She answers the door, and it's my mom. And I can hear my mom from inside that closet crying and frantically saying, we don't know where Jennifer is. She didn't come home from school. She was there, but she never made it home. So in that moment, that 8-year-old little girl's heart just drops. And I thought, oh my gosh, I've just scared the shit out of my mom, right? Now what do I do? Because she had these guilt feelings coming up. And her friend tells her, I have your daughter, and you can't have her. And Nina, in that moment, there was a weight that was just immediately pulled off of me because I felt heard, I felt seen, and I felt fully protected in that moment. But it comes back to listening to that voice just hours before that says, don't go home. He's there.
Thank you so much for sharing that experience with us. And I'm so sorry that you had to go through that.
People have said that to me over the years, and I appreciate the feeling, your ability to connect with me, because we can't imagine a child going through those things. And you hear the stories and the statistics of women that experience this. And for me in my state, it's 1 in 3 girls or 1 in 3 women experience sexual assault. It's so prevalent here. But the one thing that makes me different is I never had guilty feelings about what I've been through. I never had those feelings of, this is my fault. What did I do? How did I deserve this? That has never been a part of my life or my journey. Sorry about that. Make sure I'm silent here. So I never carried those feelings. What I found out later on in my journey, because like we've talked about, life doesn't just give us one trauma. It's like, here, try this one on for size. And, can you come out of this? So I went through other things in my life, the loss of my father in a pedestrian accident, which was extremely difficult because I stayed with my mother. There was times I was removed from her care, but always placed back with her. And her rule was when you turn 14, you can move in with your father. My father was killed 4 months before my 14th birthday. And so what that light at the end of the tunnel for me was kind of snuffed out. I thought, okay, it's time for me to make a change. I am not going to continue this, because if I ever have children and they experience this, I will stand up for them. So it took me a long time to work through having a relationship with my mother. And some people will still ask me today, how can you talk to her? How can you have anything to do with her? How, all of the hows. But they don't have to worry about that because the relationship is mine with her. And when you sit with someone and you learn their story and you learn that they were doing what they know in that moment, it gives you a different perspective. And so I had to create that space for my mother and I. And when I sat with her, Nina, what I found out was I wasn't the first to be sexually abused in my family. I wasn't the second. I wasn't the third. I was the fourth of direct women. My mother, my grandmother, my great grandmother, all abused by my great grandfather. So you're talking about inner family abuse. Why I was the one that stood up and said, enough is enough. I have more strength than those women before me. And so you give grace because how could she stand up for her daughter when her own mother and grandmother didn't stand up for her? She didn't know.
It's really hard to stand up for somebody else. If you carry so much fear for what happened to you as a child, and you have all these memories back from the childhood, and you think, oh my God, like you want to help your child, but at the same time, you're still that little girl frozen in that adult body, and you just cannot do anything. It's hard. It's really, really hard. And it's what you said, like once you learn someone else's story, you have compassion, understanding what happened. And especially light workers are born into families to stop that suffering and pain from genetic lineage so that other generations can be born in a better world. So I really want to ask you about very important thing, like looking back to what happened. What's one truth you wish every survivor of childhood abuse knew?
One truth I wish everyone knew is you have the power to change. The lies, the threats, those are those words to keep you silent, right? Your voice matters. Your story matters. What you've gone through matters. And you have to take action. You cannot just sit silently and hope that someone's going to come in and rescue you. And as difficult as that is, if an 8-year-old little girl can take a right hand leave from home, then you can step out into your truth. It's going to be scary. It's going to be hard. It's so easy to go back into the things that we know, but it takes courage and it takes support. And it takes courage and support from yourself first. So I had to have that courage to come down the stairs and tell. I had to have the courage to seek extra help when law enforcement and medical did not provide that to me. I had to seek help when no one at the school was picking up on clues. And then what do you want to change? It's great to say, well, as a mother, I will never allow this to happen to my children. But how are you going to do that? And the how for me was education. I'm going to get out of this by becoming knowledgeable. And every class I could sign up for, I took it. I went on to college to get a criminal justice degree because how did this happen? How did the system fail? How was this allowed to take place? And then what do I do with that knowledge now? Now it's sharing information, being a safe place for people to come and share and move forward in their healing journey.
You turned your unimaginable pain into new purpose. But you need to go through healing process to really be able to help someone else. How the process look like for you?
The process looked like for me, it looked like no trust in women. It looked like I can't rely on anybody to help me. It looked like I've got to have this stone wall up and not let anybody in, not let anybody know the real me. It was a full armor of protection. I didn't need that. I needed to let that armor down I needed to share my story because Nina, for the longest time, I wouldn't tell anybody what happened to me. When I went on through my junior high, high school days at school, nobody knew. Nobody knew because I wanted you to like the person that was standing in front of you. I didn't want you to feel sorry for me because of what I'd been through. I didn't want, when you're in high school and you're dating and you're having boyfriends and all these things, I didn't want boys to look at me as though I was dirty or damaged or disgusting. And those were all lies I'm putting and feeding into myself. Well, I can't trust women because I can't even trust my own mother. How could I trust a girlfriend with this story? A lie, a lie. So you have to stop lying to yourself. There are women out there to support you. There is love out there for you that is loving, kind, and caring and not abusive. There are resources. There are hospitals and doctors. And for me, the best counselor ever that listened and held a candle for me when I couldn't find the light switch in the dark.
You wanted people to see the real you before they know your story. And, healing is never easy, but it takes courage. And it starts with a choice and choosing something different, and choosing yourself, and choosing better future for yourself, for your family and future generations. And very often the hardest steps are the first steps that we do. And if somebody comes to you with the same story, how do you help them?
That is an amazing question. My first piece of help is to create a safe space because for someone to unload that type of story with you or any story, you need to create that container of safety because they've felt that they've not been safe before. They may have those same feelings of untrust. They may have feelings of being unworthy because that's all they've ever heard. So the first thing to do is to pour in love to that person. Find the sparkle in them and draw that out because we beat ourselves up so much. And we wouldn't do that to a friend. We wouldn't do it to our spouse, our daughters, our sons, but we do it to ourselves. So, one thing I like to do is I love affirmations. And I'm not talking, I am strong, I am courageous, I am, these one little sentences. I love listening to the story that someone has gone through and then writing an affirmation of strength around that. Because it's great to be strong and it's great to be courageous, but how did you get there? What did you go through to get there? Because just like me, there are other little girls and other women who have gone through abuse. Well, I can easily say, well, I heard a voice one day and I just didn't go home. I just followed the voice. But it's much more than that. It was listening to the feeling in my body. Okay, I heard it in my head. I felt it in my heart. I trusted it in my gut. And then I took that first step forward. How can I help you take your first step forward? Because sometimes that first step is stepping ahead and then coming back, stepping ahead and coming back. So it's important for me to make a space for others to feel comfortable, feel relaxed, feel at peace, whether I am offering that through my Reiki services, whether I'm offering that through retreats, whether it is through coaching. Where is that container that you feel safe with me? And we'll work on the rest together.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And what I really love about this is really supporting women not only women, but also the whole humankind to change something and have a better future for themselves and for the whole world. And we all know that energy healing is very powerful. We experience that firsthand, and it really changes a lot of things. But somebody who doesn't know what Reiki is and who is listening to this interview, what would you say to them what Reiki is and what kind of methods you use to help them?
Great question, because many people don't know what Reiki is. And I love, absolutely love being the person to introduce them to Reiki. And you're right, energy can travel anywhere. You and I are sharing energy with each other right now. Your viewers and listeners are going to feel this same energy. So I like to attribute it to a comparison of you're in your car and you're listening to music and your favorite song comes on. What do? You turn the radio up, you might start singing out loud. And what did that do? It immediately lifted your spirit, right? You're like, "Oh, I haven't heard this song in forever. I'm feeling so good right now." Or for me, I'm a huge basketball fan, Oklahoma City Thunder. When they're playing and I'm not in the stadium with them, but I'm at home watching, if they're up, yes, that energy is going. If we're down by 1 point, I can feel that stress, right? I'm feeling it just like everybody in the arena, though I'm not there. I'm still connected. So Reiki energy works just like that. If you, Nina, you were to tell me, I'm just kind of, if not feeling my best today, I feel fine, but just a little down. My first question is may I share energy with you? Because it's important to me to never encroach on someone's energy field without their permission. I want them to feel that experience. And so many of my sessions are done, I say virtually, but what I mean virtually is you and I would make a time frame that we would meet. And during this time, I would say, Nina, in your own home, I want you to be as comfortable as you are, whether that's sitting, that's lying, you want to put music on, whatever makes you feel comfortable. And during this time frame, my whole intention and thought is on Nina. And I'm going to share good energies with her, and we're going to, walk this path together for whatever our time is. And after the session's over, I'm going to call you. I'm going to say, Nina, here's what I found, or here's what I felt. How does that resonate with you? And I can tell you with every session I've ever held, Nina, that energy is felt on the other side. Now, I love doing in person Reiki sessions, and that is where I can really work the magic, right? Because I have tuning forks and singing bowls I can place on the body, or we can do tapping, but we can do all of these things together. And so if you're still, well, I don't know how this works, what I would say is just a simple exercise with yourself. If you hold your hands together like this, don't let them touch, just close to each other. You can feel the energy between them and you can move it back and forth. You can feel a little tug. And so that's what we're doing with each other is we're sharing energy. And what Reiki does is it removes any blocked energies and helps remove them from the body. And that can be an emotional energy. Maybe it's a limiting belief you've carried around. It's a physical energy. I've had this pain in my shoulder. I want to get rid of it. Okay, let's work on that. Maybe it's a spiritual energy. I don't know who my guides are. I can't connect. I don't even know what spiritual path I want to go down. Okay, let's work together. And so by working together, that allows me to tap into your energy and maybe receive some messages for you or some pieces of information that you couldn't see, hear, or feel because we were too busy in our own minds. We were too distracted with pain or too distracted with life. And so it just lets me help you on a deeper level.
Thank you so much for that explanation. I think it's very important for people to know what Reiki is. Everybody's using the term. I'm not sure that everybody knows that. And I would love to ask you, about your podcast, because you also have an amazing podcast, Affirm That Shit. What does that truly mean to you?
Affirm that shit, Nina, means somehow I thrived. And that is an acronym that I created, oh my gosh, 3 years ago now. I have a women's group and it was born online because the community I was in, unless you belonged to certain groups, you didn't really have a sisterhood connection. And so I created a group online called Paria Meraki where you could come in just as you are. It didn't matter your background, your beliefs, just come in and be a supportive sister. And I held a retreat. And in that retreat is when my healing process with my mother came along. And so the story goes, we've all been through shit. Not one of us has not stepped in it in life. Something's happened to us. Maybe I've done something to someone else. Maybe I was the jerk to someone, and I need to clean up that part of me. So, what does that look like? Once you've made it through, how did you make it through? And how can we help others make it through their shit story? So, again, I love affirmations. I started sharing affirmations in that women's group, and I had someone approach me and ask me, can I share these on my platform? And I had to think for just a moment because everything that I was writing was for the women in my group. And I thought, if it's this helpful to women, it's going to be this helpful to men. So I said, sure, let's share away. So we started sharing, and I would do affirmations every couple of days and just put it out on whatever it was, whatever I felt called to do. And the real views started going up. And what I found was that men started reaching out to me and saying, I'm going through this. Could you write me an affirmation around that? Or I saw this list of affirmations and it made me think of you. And I thought, okay, now we're getting somewhere. What happens if we put that shit story with those affirmations and we share it with the world? How did you come through your story and how can you help others? So, my guest will come on. I have stopped doing pre recordings because I want to hear the story just as the guests are hearing it. So, what I do is I'll research the guest, I'll kind of tap into their energy. What is it I need to know about them? And I'll write their affirmations and I share that with them pre recording. And so many times we will hear, how did you get that? How do you know that? Are you trying to make me cry? Those things. And it's not, it's just me being with you in that moment, space, and time, connecting together, writing something beautiful, and sharing it with the world. And then you sharing your story of whatever it is you've been through and how you're thriving today. And starting that in that women's group really is what put my mother and I on our healing journey together, to the point where I can call her now and we can have a beautiful conversation. But if I wouldn't have worked through my shit, I wouldn't have been able to do that.
You're so right. We need to heal in order to feel liberated from the past, be able to have a normal life, a normal conversation with other people as well, not only with people who hurt us, but also people who, in our everyday life, people will trigger us until we heal that part of us. They are just showing us what we need to heal, and that's it. I really want to talk about these affirmations because I know they're beautiful. I watched your podcast and it was beautiful. Uh, what is one affirmation you whisper to yourself on hard days?
Oh my gosh. The affirmation that I give to myself every day, you're going to actually, it makes me tear up thinking about it. It's just a simple, Jennifer, I love you. When you hear your own name, it hits that subconscious. Because if I was just to say, I love you, Am I saying that to my dog who may be laying over here on the floor? Am I saying that to my husband as he's passing? Where is that I love you landing? But as soon as I say my own name, my internal connections have perked up. I need to listen. Somebody's talking to Jennifer. I love you. And that is one that is probably a hard one because how many of us, when we're looking ourselves in the mirror, Nina, we're brushing our teeth, putting our makeup on, for a gentleman, maybe you're, doing some grooming. How many of us actually look ourselves in the eye in the mirror? Or are we just going through the motions of what we're doing? Our brains rattling on what we need to do for the day, or maybe what we didn't do at the end of the day, and we're so busy. But what I do and what I challenge my clients with is to look yourself in the mirror and really own that view that you see. And that can be difficult, especially if you are coming through a very difficult situation. You might not be able to even look yourself in the mirror yet, much less talk to yourself and say, I love you, right? So we'll take baby steps. But Jennifer, I love you. And saying it to myself in the mirror is immediate. I just feel this warmth and this rush over me. It's great that other people love me. I have to love myself first and most, more than anybody else.
I love that. Definitely love that. We need to love ourselves first in order for us to be able to love others. I love that. If your 8-year-old self could sit with you today, what would you say to her? And what would she say to you?
I I've actually done this. And so what the 8-year-old Jennifer says to me is thank you. Thank you. And that is such a deep level for me because it was thank you for listening that day. Thank you for not giving up, continuing to seek help. But if I look at the 8-year-old Jennifer, what I say to her is, I'm proud of you because the courage that she had to step forward. We have, as adults, for some reason, we steer away from difficult conversations. We don't like conflict. We want to go away from it. But if an 8-year-old Jennifer can do it, man, how proud I am of her. She faced that story head on, and she makes me so proud.
She was definitely special.
She's a little bit of a badass, I think.
She's amazing, you know? Oh my God. Jennifer, thank you so much for being on my podcast today. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I hope this message can inspire others to seek healing, to believe in themselves, that healing is possible for you. And it really starts with a choice. And that's something you need to do. And Jennifer, for everybody who wants to connect with you, how they can connect with you.
Thank you, Nina. I would love those connections. You can reach me on Facebook. You can reach me on my platform of Yukio Wellness, and that's UKIYO Wellness, or Sacred Utori Collective, and that is an all women's website. But reach out, send me a direct message. I would love to talk to you.
Jennifer, thank you so much for being here today on my podcast. Thank you for sharing a message. And everybody who was listening or watching, thank you so much for being here. If this episode inspired you, moved you, touched you, please share it with your friends and family members. Let's help them heal and create a better life for themselves and for their future family. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the work you do. And until next time, be brave, shine your light because the world needs that love and light inside of you more than ever. I'm sending you lots of love and big hug. Bye for now.